Okay, it's Nick Dutch. I'm back again. I would say I'm back on the camera again one more time, but I'm doing this particular video in between lots of different stuff. It's first thing in the morning when I'm recording this, and I'm not actually dressed to actually appear on the camera right now, so you just have to spend a bit of time ogling at my divine crystal ball. It's quite a beautiful little trinket. It's carved out of clear quartz, and I think it's really rather special. It serves very little in the way of divination purposes, although it's a great object of meditation if you want to do meditation looking at something which is like totally mystical and spiritual. Anyway, I haven't done all that much on this channel for a long time now, and that's predominantly because I'm a self-employed individual. I've got my own time, energy and money constraints, and I've got to be able to basically look after myself. We all want to do like thousands of new projects and different projects like on the internet and with everything on the face of the planet, but we've also got to live in reality as well, and that basically means that sometimes I've got to put a few other things onto the back burner whilst I'm busy at looking after myself and participating in all the things that I just got to get done. So I will apologize to all of the subscriber base for that right now. But I'm also going to just go into a few little things now. Now, when I set up this channel, I came up with a phrase, and that phrase is, the paranormal is real, get used to it, suckers. Now, I still hold true to that particular standpoint. Can I objectively prove it? This is where things get a bit difficult. I don't know whether you're aware of this, but actually a while ago I investigated getting into or being involved with the JREF, that's right, the James Randi Educational Foundation, and to be submitted for some of their tests to investigate the alleged paranormal. Now, they do things in a rather strange way. First and foremost, everyone who's making a claim has got to pay all the expenses. Alright, that means your travel, your hotel, that means absolutely everything, including anything you might need for the actual test itself. So that means that people like me, your poor average fortune teller, can't actually necessarily do everything that's required to actually get to the test to be tested. And then it's a question of what the test itself would actually be, and what the criteria would be whereby you yourself would actually measure success by, and also will the test itself be properly scientific. Now, for a properly scientific test, what you'd actually need to do is have a massive number of experimental subjects. You would have to make sure it is socially stratified in terms of education, in terms of careers, income levels, interests in spiritual things. You'd have to have each and every single person tested rigorously using things like the California Personality Inventory, the Minnesota Multiphasic Personality Inventory, and a few other key psychological tests, so you can get a good feeling of the spectrum and demographic of the people that you're dealing with. You'd have to have the people split up into at least two different sections. One is the control condition, one is the experimental condition, and then you'd actually have to be able to think about the phenomena itself, which particular phenomena you're going to test, and how to actually measure forms of success from that. So would the JREF be willing to do that? Well, basically no, they are not, and the reason being is that it will take too much time, it will cost too much money, and all of the expenses have to be on the in the hands of the person who is making the claim, which would of course be myself. I would actually have to have probably close to $1 million or more prior to actually participating in a test in which I could then hypothetically win $1 million. Now, even if the results come out, okay, and the results come out positively, can we actually convince the hard skeptics that a particular form of supernormal or paranormal or whatever phenomena has actually occurred? Well, if you take into account what I've mentioned before, namely the quotation from Wiseman, who's of course one of the skeptics' camp, and how he misrepresented the whole phenomenon and the whole situation, bottom line, no. It doesn't necessarily matter with like the hard skeptics how good the evidence is. Okay, what matters to them is that their own beliefs are being confirmed. Alright, and of course they would use what is regarded as being pseudoscientific means to be able to do so. So I've got to move away from that and start moving towards thinking about what isn't true, and trying to teach people as to what isn't true, and trying to use reason and logic to be able to explain what isn't true and why it isn't true. And from that to be able to bring people closer to an understanding of what hypothetically could be true. But we've also got to be realistic about that and admit that a hypothetical is still a hypothetical. Okay? Right, then from that particular standpoint, we can then start to say, well, there's these strange experiences that they could hypothetically suggest this, that, and the other, and then try and work out which of those hypotheticals is more likely to have some validity, taking into account the nature of the experiences themselves. But even then, all we could do is approach something close to a theory, but it would not be a full and complete and utter scientific theory. So the only other thing that we could do would be to explain, as it were, paths of self-development or paths of experimental development and personal development, whereby individuals can start to explore and experiment with certain forms of phenomena itself. Now, that's good, but we've also got to take away from people the superstitious fear and dread, because the superstitious fear and dread itself can manipulate people into being afraid of things that they shouldn't be afraid of, or accepting things to be true when basically they aren't true, or even taking into account the strange experience, there's still insufficient evidence to be able to say to what extent something is true. Okay, and that's where things start to get difficult, because you can have the strange experience or you can have the strange phenomenon, and some people, because of their lack of acceptance of scientific reasoning and scientific thinking, would actually turn that into being something which represents a hard and fast faith position. Alright, and I've got to take some of my time to educate people out of that, because a lot of the hard and fast faith positions goes contrary to scientific investigation, scientific inquiry, and also goes contrary to trying to work out what is true, because when a dogma or a dogmatic standpoint gets in the way, then people's way of looking at these things gets distorted, and people move into what could only be roughly called, in occult terms, as being a victim of illusion, namely being deluded by or influenced negatively by the ideas that they have managed to accumulate. One of the things which holds any form of psychic research back is these particular standpoints, which is why I've been promoting myself as being this trans-deist or transcendental deist or deistic character, because it's important to apply reason and skepticism and self-doubt to the things that we think, the things that we believe, and the things that we experience. So the nature of this channel, on the basis that I can carry on building it, as well as building the main partner channel, as well as doing the tarot shows, is to try and get this message across, and to try and show people how they themselves can try and experiment and explore these particular phenomena, basically without going insane or without becoming religious dogmatic nutters. Which is, of course, a bit difficult, because the whole like supernatural, paranormal, occult type world is full of religious ideas. Now, educating people outside of away from those religious ideas, without necessarily hurting people's need for religion, is also another big challenge. It's one that I've been trying to do on my other channels so far. It's one that I'm going to try and carry on doing on this one as well. But we'll just have to see how it goes, basically. So that's basically where I'm at the moment, and I'll show you more, talk to you more, explain more to you with the passage of time. So keep tuned, keep subscribed, rating, commenting, favoriting, sharing, and all the rest of that, and we'll speak again very, very soon. God bless.